Hey, everybody, it's Nicole Bonner with Thriving in Chiropractic Podcast. I'm here with my good friend, Dr. Colton O'Brien. Hey, Colton.
Hey, what's up? Happy to be here today.
I'm happy you're here today too, because we have an amazing guest on our podcast today. We got lucky with this one. I want to introduce to you guys Dr. Ken Cooper.
Hey there.
His friends call him Coop. And Dr. Cooper has been in chiropractic practice for 33 years. We've known each other outside of this podcast through the UAC, so I know he's not only a phenomenal chiropractor, he's also a brilliant businessman and entrepreneur. And so he's going to share his wealth of knowledge with us today, specifically talking about concussion care.
Right.
Because you have you have your pediatrics, right, certification, also functional medicine certification, but your real passion is helping people with concussions. So welcome on our show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you, and it's great to see the both of you, and it's a beautiful day, and so I'm hoping that we can create some education in your and the people that watch, and give them a little awareness and motivation, and maybe they'll take some action.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So I know we might be a little pressed for time today, so it might be a quicker episode, but I'd love to just jump right in and start with the
Absolutely.
first question of why what drove your passion for this concussion work?
Well, very funny. I have 4 children. Two of my boys played high school and college football, so we were around concussion all the time. However, the concussion that I had the hardest time recovering was my daughter, who got it in cheer, and where they took a girl that flies and she landed on her head, and that one by far was the worst concussion. So if I can steal a saying from our good friend Dan Pompa, it's from pain to purpose. It was like I had to figure this out. This was my daughter, and that drove me into concussion care and drove me into the research. But then what's crazy was what I found out was when I started really looking and reading the research, there's this enormous call for a non-drug, non-surgical approach, and it doesn't exist. And so that puts chiropractic right in the crosshairs of perfection for this. And one other thing to say is that with every concussion, there is a cervical injury. There's always a cervical component. Absolutely. And us being able to clear that, and in our case, what we're not only doing is clearing the neurology, but we're allowing the cerebrospinal fluid now to flow in and around the brain, and make its descension down through the spine and back. And again, for those people that don't really grasp CSF really easily, it feeds the brain and gets rid of the toxins. So kind of like how a fish in a fish tank gets all its food in the water, but it poops in the water too. Kind of, simplistically the same idea. So we need to keep that flushing, but with a subluxation, you're going to torque that dura, you're going to prevent that flow. And so now this brain is just bathed in toxin.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like this is, like you said, a non-drug, non-surgical approach. It seems like chiropractic really fits perfect here. And my time, and I'm a recent grad, and so in my time in school, we didn't really talk about concussions that much. So for maybe some young students or young docs who were starting to see some athletes or not too familiar with concussion, can you explain what?
Yeah, so let's go from the start. Let's look at statistics first, because this, Colton, is an epidemic. Right? Now, why do I say that? Because 3 million adults over the age 65 go to the ER every year because they had a fall. We know 60% of those, it's because they hit their head. Now, we as chiropractors also understand when you fall, you're still going to get that smacking of the brain inside the cranium. So, even though symptomatology wise, it's not every single case, you and I both know it is every single case. That's number one. Number two, in 2020, the CDC put out a research program that said 6.8% of all children 17 and younger, 6.8% have had either a concussion or mild traumatic brain injury. That's 5 million more. And annually, 4 million athletes suffer concussion. This is without car accidents and work injuries and anything else, but that's 33,000 people per day.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, while we're talking right now, we have a 7-year-old having concussion care done right now.
I think you got to think how vital that is for a young developing body.
Oh, critically. And the thing is, for us chiropractors, we really focus on the spine, but most of us never really turn our attention fully to the brain. You know, you're going to hear like the gut brain connection and things like that, but most people don't really dive deep into the brain. And that's kind of really where we can go and have, you know, superpower and super strength and healing.
Yeah. Wow. And so in your office, I know it's probably complex and could spend hours on this, but what is y'all's approach, and how do y'all address, you know, one, the subluxation, two, but also just helping heal from that concussion?
Well, so our protocol is called concussion CPR. So for anybody that wants to look at it, you can go online. You can, it's our website is concussion.solutions. And you'll see us on like Instagram and Facebook also. But we built a fourfold approach based on the most current and most thorough research. And in the most current and most thorough research, what it said was eye tracking is perhaps the number one way to identify and to correct a concussion.
Okay.
So our approach number one is that chiropractic adjustment to free that cerebral spinal fluid, to open up the channels, right? And even on the very first adjustment, we teach our providers to you're going to be tempted to want to adjust everything like you normally would, and we want you just to be in cervical only. We have a methodology for you to identify what that cervical adjustment is, and we're talking maybe 1 or 2 levels, and that's it. And we want all the energy to go up into the brain. That's number one. Number two, what we want to do is we're going to use a device like a cold laser, and we're going to turn it really low down. We're not going to use it like we do for a low back, but what the cold laser will do is re-energize mitochondria. So we can actually, because the brain can do neuroplasticity, if there's like a damage, what we can do is we can have the brain reroute around that using the cold laser. Number three, then we have to do neuroprotection. We do that through nutrition, right? So there's certain things that we have to do. We have to get inflammation out. We have to close the blood-brain barrier, because we know within minutes of an injury, you've ripped the blood-brain barrier open. So, the blood-brain barrier, think of it like being like a nice pair of blue jeans. You fall and you rip your jeans. Well, once they're ripped, they're ripped. Thankfully, in the blood-brain barrier, it's got the ability to close. However, there's a vital nutrient that we can get from like N-acetylcysteine, or we can get from dark green leafy vegetables, and that's called glutathione. And glutathione is going to help us stitch that back together, because once it breaches, whatever's toxic in the body is going in, and the longer it stays that way, the deeper those poisons go. So our neuroprotection aspect of this is going to be to lock that stuff down, reduce the inflammation, give us protection, right? Start that healing process. And then the last thing that we recognize, and I'm positive you guys have seen this, because people that battle and suffer concussion battle depression. And so there is absolutely a neuro-emotional component to this. And literally, I would say that the majority of people that have this, there's a neuro-emotional connection. Like, for instance, I was in my doctor's meeting yesterday, and I was told about one of our practice members that's 6 years old. She was born with Down syndrome, but something has happened and we're not quite certain what, but her behavior in school has completely changed. Okay, so now we're going to investigate, was there a head trauma? Did she fall? Did she hit her head? If that's so, then we can now employ different techniques to remove that neuroemotional barrier to get that to going. But we put this into such a program to where anybody can do it. You know, the chiropractic neurologists are brilliant, and they've got a lot of toys and they got a lot of great stuff. But I don't feel like I really need to be able to explain the metallurgy of a hammer. I need to explain how to drive a nail, right? And so it's my intention not to really overwhelm the doc or the office with like all of this data that, you know, you could spend years and years and years to learn. It's my intention to teach them like how to drive the nail. How do you fix this?
Hoop, that was going to be my next question for you.
Yeah.
So like the majority of our audience are either chiropractic students or chiropractors who are just getting ready to open a practice. So let's say, so let's say these people want to specialize in taking care of people with concussions. Now, do you help doctors? You know, do you teach this stuff? Is that what you?
Yes. Yeah. So we have an online program that the doctor or the student can purchase, and it'll take them step by step through every different cycle. There'll be a test at the end so that when they're done, they're certified. And currently what we're doing is we are also applying for a national certification, so that certification is not just in the chiropractic realm, but it's in the whole medical realm for, you know, the United States and you know, everywhere around the world. So we're in process of that. But your providers will be able to go through and learn. And then the other thing that we do, you know, and again, kind of UAC thinking, is we need to make sure that if they're going to spend the time and energy to do this, and again, we know the riches are in the niches. So, you know, we want to consider a specialization, then we want to teach them how to market. We want to teach them how to train their team. We want to teach them how to clear their own mindset so that they can have this abundance mindset. So that, you know, it doesn't matter that if it's grandma that if this happened to, or, you know, the lady at the supermarket that slipped on a grape, or it's the 7-year-old or 8-year-old that's going to be here today, that they know how to do that. They're confident and they're clear. I mean, again, clarity equals confidence. So our job is to make sure it's like perfectly clear. And then my team is set up to where all of that coaching is included.
That's awesome, because that was actually going to be my next question. Like we had talked about, you know, I knew you from UAC, and I know that you're a brilliant businessman and entrepreneur. And I think you had mentioned to me before our podcast that you have a 3 to 4 month waiting list in your practice. That's phenomenal. So without giving away your secrets, without giving away any without giving away the recipe, can you tell us a little bit about your business model?
Well, so our business model is a wellness-based, holistic, a vitalistic practice. So whereas most chiropractors starting out will treat back pain and neck pain and headaches, I'm thinking through my day yesterday. Of the 49 people I saw yesterday, I don't think I had any with back pain. I don't think I had any with neck pain. So really what I see myself as number one, we're a faith-filled center that specializes in natural healthcare. But if you can imagine like an old country doctor that just treats everything and everything's within his scope, you know, he just doesn't use drugs, he just doesn't do surgery, and he just doesn't deliver babies. That's pretty much it. That's our model. We use an open bay, and then we have private rooms like the one that we're in right now. And it's beautiful. I love the open bay, especially for new practitioners, because it's great. You give instructions once, guess what? 4 different people on the tables all heard it. Right. You don't have to repeat it over and over and over and over. Right. So That's pretty much our business model. We've always been a very high level referral practice, but we also, understand, and we make that emotional connection with that person when they first come in, because for that grandmother that fell and hit her head, and now she's kind of forgetful and leaving the stove on, the issue is not just getting her memory back. The issue is being able to get her functional so she can go and play and watch her grandkids and go to Disneyland with her grandkids and live the quality of life that she wants. So really the key is understanding and finding out what is that emotional thing that's been lost as a result of this injury. It's not about reducing pain. It's not about stopping that. It's about giving you your life back.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
1000%.
Yeah. And then the quote I want to become famous about is, in the absence of understanding neurology, everything looks like magic. So when you do this with people, they're going like, oh my gosh, that Dr. Cooper, he's magic. Yeah, no, it's just neurology. It's just, I grasp it, I understand it, I know how to apply it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like, so with these amazing things that happen in your practice and just knowing how to connect on that emotional level, do you have any specific like case studies or testimonials that like you'd be willing to share with our audience?
Oh, I would love to. So, we've got a ton, but I'm going to tell you about one that really, really jumped out really powerfully and in a way I didn't expect. But it was actually a student up at Life West, and she was a rugby player. She was also one of my interns prior to going into school. And during rugby, she had a terrible accident and she was literally paralyzed on the field. And they took her to Stanford University Hospital, and she was there for 21 days, and she regained some, but she did not regain whole body function. She couldn't walk. Her leg was just completely unfunctional. And I told her mom, I said, you need to bring her down here. They're not going to figure it out. The unfortunate part is I'm going to go out on a limb and say, and many times in medicine, they don't critically think. They look at their tests. They're standardized to look behind what all their data is saying. And if their data doesn't say it, they can't think it through. And that's what makes us chiropractors so different, is that we critically think through every single step that we do. In any case, I told the mom, bring her down here. She came down. In the first 3 hours, I got her power back in her leg, and I got her to walk. And so every day we were shooting her progress on social media, and it was really cool because our CBS network in LA, which is the biggest one in the whole wide world, called and said, you know what, we want to do a story. And when was the last time you saw like a 3.5 minute story on broadcast news about, number one, something positive, and number two, something about chiropractic, right? That's what it was. So with your permission, I'll share my screen and I'll show you Rachel's story.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Good. Where'd you go? Hang on, let me put glasses on. Oh, hang on. Okay. There we go.
Rachel Paul
Can you hear
could
it
have
now?
played basketball overseas before realizing her passion was in chiropractic. After entering Cooperstown Chiropractic in Fullerton, she received a full ride scholarship to play rugby. Earlier this year, she suffered a devastating injury, jeopardizing her ability to walk. But she found hope back in Cooperstown. Our Chris Hayrie now has more in this week's edition of Hometown Hero.
My family is very athletic. We're all very competitive. My brothers went to BYU. They played football there. My brother just had his pro day for the NFL. My sisters, they played volleyball and basketball in high school. I played basketball in undergrad. In grad school, I just started rugby.
What brought you to rugby?
It put me in a great position for my body, and it gave me a free ride for school.
January 22nd,
Yeah.
2022. What do you remember about that day?
I was giving the ball off to my cousin, and I got slipped from underneath, and then I got hit from behind. I don't remember how I fell, but I remember immediately being in a lot of pain. I was taken into the ambulance. I don't remember anything until waking up Sunday at about 4 or 5. And then I remember seeing my parents, And I'd asked them, what are you doing here? My mom and them said, we've been waiting for you to wake up. That's when I realized sort of the severity of the incident. So the doctors were saying that I was not able to move my right side at all, and my left leg wasn't lifting. When I woke up Sunday, I was getting a little bit of movement on my right side for my leg as well, but my left leg just was not working at all.
Were you scared?
Absolutely, yeah. But I wasn't also trying to be, because I felt like everything later on was going to be okay.
You got it. Come on, you can do it.
Dr. Cooper's office is where you interned.
Ready?
And
Go.
this is your passion, and you were able to get the help you needed.
I'm grateful for everyone that's supported me. This office has carried me. The first day I got here, I took 3 steps. And it was with help, but it was 3 steps, and I knew that there was hope.
Come on, Graham.
Why is this different?
It's different because she's so special, and because she's one of us. When I see her future, I see her being able to be that person that's speaking on stage that we all go to and says, you know, I was paralyzed. You know, you think you got it bad. I couldn't move. And look at me now. But she was intubated. So she was on a ventilator. And that's pretty scary stuff. But after that, I was able to FaceTime her. And really what our conversation came to was this. Regardless if you want this to or not, it's going to define you. Are you going to be defined as a victim? Or are you going to be defined as a champion? Are you going to inspire the world? Or are you going to let this just succumb? She immediately said, I'm a champion.
Life has a funny way of working things out. It almost is like this was meant to be to get Rachel better.
Yeah, exactly what I felt. And she was supported by family and a team. All of us together were able to put together such a miracle for her.
I feel like I can keep going. And it motivates me, honestly, often to just keep working towards the goal of walking again. And later on, hopefully, just being back to my normal self.
I don't know about you. I got goosebumps.
That was incredible. So inspiring.
What do you think of that? Is
Wow.
Yeah, that's
that pretty cool? So the crazier parts to this, she's back to playing rugby. She finishes chiropractic school in, I think, December, and she'll be one of our doctors here.
oh man.
Wow. Is she coming to work in your clinic?
Yes,
That-
That's so-
absolutely.
that is so cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's amazing.
So, I mean, again, it wasn't me, it's God, obviously. You know, I don't take any credit for that, but I just, I know how to remove what's interfering in the pathway. And I understand about putting a program together to where you can do it and you can do it and all the people on your broadcast can do it, because 33,000 people a day this is happening to. Now, maybe they're not all paralyzed, but I can promise you that when this does happen, they're going to go to the hospital for a CT, and as long as radiographically everything's fine, the doctor's going to say, hey, stay off your phone, stay off your iPad, and take Tylenol. And we know that that's number one, antiquated, and number two, it's dangerous. And it's dangerous because the blood-brain barrier needs to be stitched back together, requires glutathione. And so what inhibits glutathione? Tylenol. Right? So, I mean, we're just perpetuating this problem. And again, in that example, like the grandma, you know, at first, she kind of forgets the things you told her last time. And then she leaves the fire on the stove. And sooner or later, like, you know what? Grandma's battling dementia, but we're talking about this is 9 months to a year after this trauma that could have been very easily attended to and should have been attended to.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Mhm.
So we're on a mission to save the world's brain. So we're hoping that you and your people that watch your podcast would join us on this mission. And to do that, just go onto our website again, www.concussion.solutions. not .com or not .solutions, and just book a call and let's just talk and let's find out if there's a way we can, get a program into your practice. If it's a student, there's student discounts. So, we encourage, we want the students to learn this ahead of time.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think a lot of times students think it's like too early to start learning these things, but it's never too early. It's the earlier you start, the better off you are.
Right. Honestly, I wish that I had somebody like me in my life when I first started in practice, because we would go to DE, but I didn't find DE for about 5 years after I graduated. I just went to the wrong school. I didn't even know there was different options and choices, but to have somebody that could guide me, that could coach me, that could, push me to a whole nother level in practice. And again, understanding like what's those pain points. It's not just financial. It's about, running into cases where you're going like, gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to take care of this person? This person trusts me and, wants me to help them, but I just don't have enough tools in my toolbox. And this is just the simple way to like build that toolbox so enormously strong that, you're just, the gift to humanity.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy practice to be here. I know it was, we kind of squeezed this out of you. I was so excited to have him on, but I'm glad we got this done because I think it's a huge blessing for our profession and for humanity. And thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of value.
I appreciate
so much.
I appreciate that. And for like all of your people, like I said, go to our website, go to our Instagram account, Concussion CPR, and just, follow and like and share. And every time I put up a video, it gets like 30 to 40,000 views within like the first day. So
we'll have James put it at the end of this video, at the end of this podcast for you. He'll post it up.
Wonderful. Okay.
Cool.
Good. And is there anything I can do for you guys before I go?
No, the time that you spent with us today was just a blessing. Thank you.
Keep saving lives, doing what you're doing. That's the best thing us chiropractors can do, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share.
Absolutely.
Of course. All right, gentlemen. Till next week.
Yes.